Ohayo, nakamatachi. Kyo wa kinyobi da ne. Minna ni totte atarashi hi da yo. Sai kona hi ni shiyo ze. Napier Finance to isho ni Ramapati e yokosu. Hajamemashite, Shija, doso yoroshiku.
Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Wow, that was actually so good. Yeah, I have to say, like, that was amazing.
Oh wow, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I took a little Japanese in high school, Japanese and German. I apparently wanted to take all the Axis powers from World War II. So I have a little all this Japanese knowledge, and I've been studying for the past month, trying to brush up and get ready for this.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it's completely different language. I mean, like, it's completely different. So yeah, wow, that's amazing. I mean, I I don't know, like, how to admire, like, it's just amazing.
Oh well, thank you, thank you. I think you do me too much credit, but thank you so much for joining us. For those who don't speak Japanese, I was explaining that this is a llama party. We're honored to be joined by Shoji from Napier Finance. Shoji, for people who aren't familiar, what is Napier Finance?
So Napier is like illustrating path for on curve finance. So basically, users can take leverage on yield or go for fixed yield or just can provide liquidity. That kind of platform is being built on top of curve finance. That's what we are.
And essentially, this is yield trading. So this is basically, would you say it's something like Pendle Finance, but for the flywheel?
Exactly. Basically, what users can do in our platform is more or less similar to Pendle, but what makes us different is that, we are inside curves, we have flywheel. That's the thing. Yeah.
And this was obviously like a huge, huge narrative, especially during the bear market when yields, like, people weren't really sure what's going to happen. Are they going to go up? Are they going to go down? And Pendle came along and just absolutely exploded, became huge. Could you talk any like at all about the key differentiators between yourself and Pendle?
Sure, absolutely. So, one is like trade efficiency. So, actually, Napier started like 2 years ago, and we've been studying like a lot of practical design of a like fixed yield or like yield trading protocols, and like the common problem there was a fragmentation of liquidity because, like, there's like different kinds of assets with different kinds of maturity, and there is no means to kind of build up deep liquidity so that users don't have to suffer from like impermanent loss or like any cause of a inefficiency in trading. But we built on top of curve because like we thought that would be the best way to maximize the trade efficiency. If you think of like in a siloed design, that was like definitely a good idea for us. So that's one thing. And another is, as you mentioned, like flywheel. We've got, pretty huge community support from like curve funds. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, I think you're kind of like glossing over a lot of the really interesting technical details. So let me pull up the kind of uh, the means from a while back about how it is that you're specifically handling this. So basically, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe it's changed since the white paper came out, but you basically have like this concept of separating it out, like a lot of them do, into two parts, right? There's the like underlying pairs. So in this case, like if you're using whatever asset, you would just have like the assets broken off into the things. And then you have this separate thing that you're adding, which is a time dependent AMM. That's like a lot more complicated and depends heavily on the actual like maturity date of the asset. Could you talk and like get into a bit more of this?
Absolutely. So basically, as ETH trading protocol, we are receiving ETH bearing tokens, for example, LSDs. and LRTs, we receive it and split into two pieces. One is principal token. So yeah, so principal token represents the value of your original asset, and also it comes with a fixed yield, and that's like one part. And another part is about ETH token. So this is like purely represents the value of yield. So having ETH token or like YT is more of like taking leverage on the yield itself. Yeah, that's like how what we split into two pieces. And so we've got two MMs, like as you mentioned, we've got MMs for time dependent value. So this is like what is designed for ETH trading, because like there's maturity, and so that kind of value between original asset, so in this case like LSTs, and also principal tokens, so that and that goes towards like maturity, and this like balances the value between two different kinds of assets with time maturity. And on the other hand, there's like a lot of principal tokens, so this part is actually inside curve. That's how it looks like.
So it's the principal tokens inside Curve, and then you're having to build a completely new AMM to handle the yield tokens, because if I'm not mistaken, like if it's time dependent, that they need to set. You have to say, so this yield token will trade for 1 month, and then we'll launch a new AMM after a month. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a like bit of thing that I think I should make clear, which is that, so on inside curve there's like like PTs, and actually what we will do is like we get like LP token or 3 pool of PT, and this LP token will be balanced between LSTs or Napier MM. And YT is going to have more or less same design behind that. So as for PT itself, it will be like PT inside curves, and also LP token and original asset. And this trade happens on Napier, and YT follows the same rule.
Gotcha. And then on top of this, you're also using this kind of isolated pool structure, which Silo Finance and Curve, Llama Land, Curve USD, like also uses this similar concept where you're siloing each of these into their own kind of buckets. So if something happens with one of the collaterals, then you'll be fine across the entire like ecosystem.
Exactly. That was kind of key innovation that we think we brought into the trading. As I mentioned, fragmentation of liquidity matters quite a lot. But with this siloed architecture, trade efficiency gets better, and then also there's always some like balancing between each other. So that will give a good protection to its users as well. Yeah, that's definitely giving us a uniqueness. Definitely derived from curve design. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you're having to stand on the shoulders of a lot of giants here. So I understand that you took a lot of inspiration from, first yield finance, which shut down, I believe, and then notional AMM, and they kind of came along with this legit curve, where if you kind of trace it here, it's like, yeah, initially it has to like handle like kind of quick changes right after like the first comes out. Yields are 5,000%, has to be very fast, and then most of its life it's very flat. But then as it approaches expiry, there's like a lot of trading as it kind of like rapidly approaches. So this is like you cited notional quite a lot in the initial white paper.
Yeah, exactly. So notional design is like as from like what we've seen in the like history, the MM design itself is was like pretty cool. and that's why we brought the like basic design into Napier and like integrate it with like sort of like curved silo design. So yeah, definitely the design is the definitely the giant that we're relying on as well.
Okay. So that's like very cool and very interesting. How far are you away from launching this? Is this like pretty close to launch? Is it an audit? Is it testing? What's the status?
Um, it's gonna be pretty soon, I'd say. Like, it shouldn't take like more than like months. Like within like 1 or 2 months, we'll be making it to mainnet. Yeah, like most of audits is finished, and we're kind of final phase of like after that. So yeah, shouldn't take that long.
Excellent, excellent. But most people like. Would you say at this point, like people are excited about like the using the actual product, or is the engagement you're seeing just because of your Llama Race points program?
I mean, I kind of, I'd say, former, because like so definitely absolutely in this like it currently like bull market is coming up, and uh definitely the the leading narrative for it is LST and LT. There's a lot of points processing going on inside that market, and many people look into find further utility with that. Then like Pendle came in, and that's definitely one uh in, big impact in the market, and more or less similar thing is going to happen with us. So I'm pretty sure like many people that are making excitement is really looking to that thing. But also we are slightly starting our like Llama lace, and I'm pretty sure like people inside like Curve ecosystem, like something related to Curve, should like it. So I I definitely think that will give more excitement within the community.
Let's talk about the specific like use cases for users that want to use this. And maybe you've done some market research, or maybe you're just looking at like Pendle and other users. Who is like sort of the power user that needs this? Is this like yield farmers that are yield farming with like particular size? So maybe like whales that would recognize like a big difference from maybe like trading their yield up front, or like what do you see?
Well, I'll say like there's so like there's three like that's like kind of completely different use cases on Napier, and three kind of like completely different user profile. Of course, like there is some rough spot. Essentially, either trading is about like taking leverage on the yield. So I mean, in this market, everyone loves taking leverage on higher yield. So like it's kind of making huge hype for you know any like yield. So that's kind of for everyone. But on the other hand, there's like fixed yield, right? There's always some like balancing between each other. And fixed yield should be liked by um you know someone who are really trying to go more solid strategy, I'd say. Um, then like also fixed deals when the market grows well, then there could be also institution coming in because so that's second thing. And for a liquidity provision, yeah, like if definitely they can come in and like do provide liquidity and look for further yield that should be piling up a on top of Napier itself.
Got it. So of these 3 users, like, which ones do you think are gonna be the power, like, users? If it's an 80-20 rule and 80% of your usage comes from, core set, is it just the degen leverage traders?
Well, I would I would say decent, cause cause like either if there's a lot of either trading, that gives a lot of yield to liquidity providers as well, and especially at least in this crypto market, taking leverage or going for either trading itself is kind of obvious huge demand in the market. So that's definitely what we see.
Got it, got it. So that's pretty exciting. That's pretty okay. I touched on it earlier, but which is more complicated at this point? Building out this sort of like innovative new yield trading program or building out your points program? Because I took a look at the website, and this is
Hmm.
like incredibly complex. You've basically done a custom thread for like nearly every nook and cranny of the flywheel. Still to come. Like it looks like Frax is
Yeah.
coming up next for this llama race. Talk a bit about this program for us.
Sure, sure. I mean, essentially, it's gonna be pretty simple. So if you hold this asset, then you will get points, and
Okay.
you will see some sort of synergy or like use cases inside Napier as well. But like that's what you're gonna see in the future. But essentially, like what we wanted to do here is I wanted we wanted like um curve curve users or curve ecosystem project users to see what Napier is doing, and we wanted to. I mean, like as this whole site, it looks a bit complicated, but the core idea is if you're using something related to curve, then you should try Napier, and if you are using something with curve, then you get something with that. That's yeah. So I mean, like there's a lot of projects, so looks a bit complicated, but essentially just appreciating the on-chain history within like curving system, and also there'll be more of LST or LRT project being listed within this point program. So that's what's coming in the next few weeks.
Okay, so to be clear, if you happen to just have a lot of these kind of flywheel assets, you don't have to do anything. Just owning it, having it in your wallet means that you're eligible for the points.
Exactly. Basically, I mean, well, there might be some exception, but I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, like holding itself should be fine. But in the later phase, when Napier goes live, then things will change. Obviously, there should be like some assets is that has utility inside Napier, and in that case, definitely, um, you should try to use Napier with that to see, what it can earn.
Okay. Um, are there like additional bonuses? So it's like if you happen to have like VECRV and you use Napier in like the first week or something like that, you'll be able to earn a bonus, like a multiplier.
Yeah. Well, basically, the points being distributed is not really multiplier, but I would love to call it like jump start or flying start. So if you have this kind of asset, be um you'll be starting with a huge advantage. You already have points. Then after that, when the Napier goes live, then basically we allow users to use Napier to earn points. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, but there's Convex adding some sort of CVX NPR token. Like, is there anything at all you can tell us on this front? Or if not, like, what could you just tell us generally about the upcoming NPR tokenomics?
Sure. So I have to say at current stage for that kind of like civics Napier it's not too confirmed, but We definitely would love to see that we are part of like Flywheel, and I think we're one of the like the best in terms of like expanding what Flywheels can do. So we are sure that we can bring some like great thing with that. Yeah.
Okay, we got a question from Arrow, who is asking when do Napier points convert into coins or tokens as it is?
Yeah, I mean that's also obviously a good question. What I can say is like, it shouldn't be too long. Shouldn't be too long. Yeah, cause like, we starting from like points, but at the same time, just and we know like, just giving points and keep you guys waiting is like, a bit boring and tiring, right? So yeah, I mean, shouldn't be too long.
Yeah. Are you at all familiar with the Leviathan points program?
Which one?
The Leviathan news points program.
Not really.
So it's a bit more manual, but if you have appeared on the show at all, like you are doing right now, just make sure you sync up with me afterwards about how to add your wallet to our list, because we're trying to give out some Leviathan points to further decentralize the news collection process we're working on here. That goes for any former guest of Leviathan or just friend. If you happen to, if we're talking on Telegram, we got to get you in there.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. I'm so excited. I mean, like, even though I mentioned I'm not familiar with the points itself, for this channel was like, absolutely a great part of my DeFi life. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. We got another good question from user H__E asking when the docs are going to be live. Because I notice if you go to your website, there's links in place for a Git book, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Sorry for that. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, Docs is under construction, but should be releasing within a few weeks. Yeah, I mean, like, shouldn't be longer than a month. So yeah, yeah, maybe a week, maybe a week.
Okay, so Ishokan.
Oh
Ishukan.
yeah, Ishukan, Ishukan.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. What else like is like kind of boiling around Napier? Any alpha at all you can give us?
Well, what do we have? Give me a sec. Let me think. Well, I mean, like, there's a lot of things going on. Then I think most of alpha is like being deployed to like public quite quite smoothly and quite quickly so far. Well, alpha for that we are working on, as I mentioned, like LSD and LT projects is coming up, and we are uh working on it to like prepare all the things. And there should be like LRT related points as a flying start coming up more or less soon. So that's something you can consider as alpha. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll take what we can get here. Alpha. Another good question came in from Arrow. So, see, Arrow's not just interested in points. Arrow's also interested in the protocol itself. Napier and f of x protocol are basically like taking tokens and splitting them. Of course, f of x is kind of splitting ETH into like volatile and less volatile pairs. It's kind of a similar concept with Napier splitting out the volatility from the yield and just kind of the base token. Especially given that you're like looking at integrating into the CVX flywheel and f of x is part of like the CVX flywheel. Is there any thoughts at all about how Napier might partner with f of x?
Absolutely. I mean, like, this is actually what we discussed in the last with like aligning the forks. Yeah, like it should be like last week. So definitely we see a lot of synergy. I mean, like, even though like the like the design that we split token into two pieces is um kind of bit competing from like in a sense, but from my understanding, it's not necessarily competing, but rather what we can do there is like, so we've got PT, right? Which is more or less stabilized yield, stabilized asset with stabilized yield. So this can be this should be like good collateral for issuing like FX token, for example. That's like that will give us like more a adjustability, I'd say, of between like price and interest rates, and this kind of like better handling opportunity there. So I definitely see great opportunity of collaborating.
That's great. Any other like particular protocols within the kind of like broader DeFi ecosystem that you think might be make for interesting partnerships with Napier?
Basically, like lending protocols in general is a we see like great synergy because like collateralizing PT generally makes more sense than collateralizing iterating tokens. And yeah, that's definitely one thing. For example, like Llama Land, that if we can list some PT into it as like collateral, that will be definitely great.
It's
Yeah,
permissionless, so you can list it right now if the token's live. I did a tutorial, but it's pretty easy to actually launch your own tokens on the Llama Land. I'm surprised more people haven't done so.
yeah, for sure. I mean, like that's what DeFi is, right? Like, I mean, it's so cool. So yeah, what I can say, I don't know, like, I mean, like it's great product, obviously, and we definitely see great
Yeah,
synergy with that. So
I feel like I've been pestering you with all these questions, but I'm curious to hear like what's your origin story? How did you get in the space? Like where did you get first interested in DeFi in general?
sure. So I myself joined into like crypto space back in 2019, 2020, around the it was kind of before like NFT or like NFT bump, I'll say. So
Mhm.
kind of before the bull. What brought me into crypto is like, so I've been like doing a lot of things and doing research for like uh like socioeconomic theory. I mean, like it's basically like economics, but with a broader and broader aspects, including like politics or etc. So kind of um, I can kind of came from like academic motivation, not necessarily academic, but I wanted to see like the opportunity of designing new form of like economy, new form of like capitalism and like so many things. And I found like DeFi to be super interesting, and there's a lot of boom in it. So I was like, what else can I do? Like that that's definitely the most exciting thing that exists in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, you get to be the Jerome Powell and set your own interest rates, or you get to build your whole like Ponzi-nomics. It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that this is so exciting, and also like it's kind of cool that we can work together with a lot of startups inside the system, having a lot of partnership, and this is also another part of excitement. It's not like I mean, there's sometimes like competition, but at the same time, there's a lot of the scene that we can support each other. So that's lovely.
Gotcha. And your English is very good, better than my Japanese, certainly. Did you study in the West at all?
um, I did, but not really. Like I was born and raised in Japan, Tokyo, spent like more than 22 years in Japan. But
Mhm.
my high school had like English teacher, I mean like British teacher. And I spent half a year in Germany. But yeah, I mean, I think that's and also some few times in Dubai. So yeah, that's it. Well, yeah, it's thank you for that.
Yeah. How did you get into Napier? Where I met Yusuke at ECC last year actually, where he told me about the
Mhm.
idea, and it sounded really cool. And I'm like amazed to see how far it's like come. Like, were you with Yusuke since the beginning, or like did you join the team later?
I joined the team kind of right after ECC.
Okay.
So I before that, like I was part of like more of like middleware-ish project, which has a lot of things to do with DeFi. So I also wanted to bring different kind of innovation into DeFi space. And but like at some point I left the team, and I'm Yuskan and I have been knowing each other for like maybe like 3 4 years. Like when I joined crypto, like maybe half a year after I joined crypto space, then I met Yusuke. And even back then, he was talking a lot about like DeFi social curve and also fixed term yield. And I was like, I mean, I was super surprised when I first met him. And then like we used to live together in Dubai. We kind of did a room share together. So we spent quite a lot of time discussing a bunch of like DeFi stuff. When I left the previous team, he was like, I mean, like, why not? And I was like, sure. That's like how it started.
And then, can you talk at all about the naming of Napier Finance? Because John Napier is like one of the more interesting like characters in history, and I feel like he's never gotten his due. So I'm hopeful that you can really lean into it and bring the legend of John Napier to more people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like that's stuff. I mean, like naming DeFi protocol after that guy Napier is like definitely kind of nerd vibe, right? I mean, like in a good way, and that's what I like Yusuke about. And yeah, he really like loves like math or like economical math and kind of thing, and he wanted to yeah use some good name from yeah. I mean, like I'm not too sure, but like uh what Yusuke likes him about, but yeah, wish I could bring him here.
Do you use do you use much logarithms in mathematics for the calculations you're doing? Because my immediate thought was Napier is like the inventor of essentially the logarithm. Um, but I don't actually think you're using logarithms in your yield curve, are you?
I don't think so. I mean, as far as I know, I don't. So that's kind of in a question I still have in my mind. Like, I mean, like if it consists a lot of like logarithm inside Napier, like naming it Napier makes more sense. But I mean, like for me personally, it's not too straightforward. So yeah, still, I'm still on the way to figure it out from Yusuke.
Okay, so you're not the math person.
I'm not too much like, if you're familiar like with like in the Japanese education, like how intense it is even at high school level. And I came from like math or like engineering background, but I got more into like econ and poli sci, but not too mathematical
Hmm,
after like entering uni. So yeah, I'd say not too much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so when I was writing my newsletter on Napier Finance, I was having some fun researching more about John Napier. It was fun in particular because I was talking with ChatGPT about it, and it like gave me this like incredible story, and I was like, "Wow, that's great!" So I asked it to provide a source, and it admitted that the story wasn't true, and it completely made it up. Um, but fortunately, fortunately, the real
That
stories are
happens.
just the real stories are just as good. So just one I'll share here. This comes from Wikipedia. Is that
Mhm.
there was like a bunch of like pigeons on the Napier estate trying to like eat the grain around the Napier around his like I guess estate. So what he did was he took like a lot of grain and soaked it in alcohol, and got the pigeons drunk so that the pigeons couldn't fly away, and then he could easily capture them. Just a pretty fun story.
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah.
Um, Good stuff, good stuff. So I'm curious, like, unless there's other like things about Napier that you'd like to talk about, I've got like plenty of questions about like broader DeFi for you.
I'm sorry, was it question? I'm sorry,
Oh
I
yeah,
think I
if,
missed it.
I've got like unless there's other questions from you or from the audience related specifically to the upcoming Napier, there's other stories that I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on coming out of the like broader crypto space.
Oh, sure. I'd love to.
Um, So one that actually like I have this thing where I pay so much attention to crypto that I like never get any time to like read like the regular news.
Mhm.
So this completely like it got on my radar, but I didn't get a chance to dig in. Um, so like you mentioned that you're like in Japan right now. What's going on with this? Is this like a big story? Um, the Japan raising interest rates for the first time in 17 years. Could you talk a bit about the kind of macro econ scene, given that you have this econ background?
Sure. What I've seen in Japan for like last, 2 or 3 decades is that, basically the interest rate is close to zero, nearly minus. That was like, our sort of basic environment where we grew up actually. So what it felt like is like, interest rates in banking doesn't mean anything literally, because it's like 0.017% or so for a year. So if you find that kind of fault in DeFi, you think that's bullshit, right? I mean, like it's totally shit, right? That's like how it's been in Japan. And obviously, the reason behind that is because of like, the like fiscal policy. Um, they needed to sort of issue a lot of bonds, and there's a lot of expense in social welfare, even though like the productivity that like didn't really change for quite a while. So that's how it's been. But after like 17 years, if I feel like this is the first time since I was born, like at the age of like I don't know, like 8 or 10, like you don't really feel economy. But so I definitely think this is first time that we are talking about like interest rate going up. And if so, then the whole world will change definitely. Like making deposit makes sense to many people, and I personally don't even know how it feels like as a country, because
I mean, I've always just wondered, it must be so bleak, like so depressing. Like, cause I remember when I visited Japan last, like, it's such an industrious culture. Like, the people who are working hours that would make like it like in America, like it's 9 to 5 culture a lot of times. There are some places where it's a bit more, in Japan, it's like 24 hours a day. It seems like people are working. And it's like for what? Like you're doing all this work and your economy is hopeless, it feels like. I just didn't understand like
yeah, I mean, me neither. I mean, otherwise, like I'll be into like Japanese traditional enterprise, wearing suits, working all day, but that wasn't my decision. So I mean, I I also don't get it, but actually, this is sort of like what we derived from like history back in like 1980s, 90s. Like economic situation was pretty good. Working more means earning much more. So most of like like 60, 50s, 60s of like nowadays have that kind of culture underneath their mentality, I would say. Probably, that is inherited throughout the generation. That's how it's been, I guess. But even for me, like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like working in law, what I mean, like what do you live for? That was like the most of the question that most of students have in Japan. So yeah, that's definitely depressing. And also, I'd say like it's kind of too mature as a country. Like there isn't like too much space for like market to expand. Yeah, so it's. I mean, it feels like I feel like the Japan's country is like meets as is like later 70s or like early 80s as a person.
Yeah. Would you do you think that like a number of younger people in Japan like found cryptocurrency interesting just because the kind of economic situation didn't really offer a lot of hope? So it was almost like a kind of like this like lifeboat or something?
Well, I I think most of younger generation in Japan still, I mean, uh, are not too familiar or like not too too are not putting too much hope into crypto. I would say because I mean, like even though I mentioned like Japan as a depressive country, at the same time, even though like we've got like a lot of difficult problems, but at the same time, as a country, even though we spent like 30 years as you know a like growless country, non-growing country, we're still maybe like third or fourth on the like GDP table. So like we still have good environment. So even though we have a lot of problems, at the same time, many people think that still Japanese government or like JPY or whatever is reliable relatively. That's like what people think in general. So when I say like I'm into crypto doing like blah blah blah, they're like, wow, why? You know, there's JPY, there's like, some like digital payments and why? And it's like, I mean, yeah. you know.
But Japan has like a more evolved regulatory framework for crypto than most places, right?
It's been changing. It's been great, like especially for the last couple of years. It's been great. Like before the many, I mean, like it's kind of still is, but many crypto founders, especially doing like infra or DeFi or like whatever needs token, they moved out of Japan mostly to Singapore firstly, and then to Dubai later on. So that's like how it was before, and especially like last year, things changed quite fastly. I don't know what's going on inside the government. I mean, like I hear some rumors, but yeah, so they've been changing quite a fast, but I'm not too sure if they are really willing to take a lot of opportunity of DeFi. I mean, like there are a lot of countries that are saying they are willing to adopt blockchains, but some of them are merely for CBDCs. And I'm not too sure uh, to which direction Japanese government is going to.
Got it. How is Napier being structured? Is Napier like a Japanese company? Is it a Dubai entity, like a DAO? What's the situation
Dubai,
there?
Dubai entity. So team is in Dubai, and that's where I'm at USK as well.
Gotcha, gotcha. So if basically if like Napier Finance becomes very big, it's not like the Japanese government is going to come to you and try and like integrate you into like I don't know, the economy more formally or anything.
Um, yeah, I mean, like it should be like that. Like they shouldn't be do some like we shouldn't be counted as sort of like illegal activity in like Japanese law. So yeah, but I don't know, like there are like some exceptions in everything. So yeah,
Well, Mount Gox.
yeah. I mean that was several. That was several.
You probably already familiar with DeFi Advisor, I believe, from the work you did with the A team recently. But DeFi Advisor, welcome. We're live with Shoji.
Hello, guys. What's up? Nice to be on.
Hi.
Just for the delay. I went to sleep really late. Today. Yeah.
No
Yeah,
problem.
glad
We
to
think
check
we have
in.
like all time zones covered here.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I drag my nights. I went to sleep really like deep into the morning. Had some stuff on the computer. But yeah, honestly, we'll catch this one later. But we were actually lucky to also talk with Napier ourselves this week on the 18th. On Wednesday, one of our biggest streams yet. The week before, no, right? Not this week, like the week before. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Last week, right?
it all blends together now. So we did see some questions coming in from the from the commenters. Any hints at new race partners? So Katis was mentioning that they just announced Conic, which is of course
I
very
see that
exciting.
I got here on time. I see. After all,
Mhm.
right into the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like hints. I mean, like the alpha I shared is like kind of a bit too obvious as a hint, but yeah, we're working with like LST and LT project, and yeah, we should be releasing more info soon. Yeah.
Right. We got to hook up Leviathan points holders, so we'll connect offline about that. But if we're giving people Leviathan points, that should get people something with the airdrop too.
Yeah. Why not?
Is that really possible?
Yeah, I mean, like it's possible technically. It's better.
You know, if we do that,
It's
it's so cool. God, like if we actually connect with the projects from within the ecosystem and combine the Leviathan points with it to some degrees, like play some games on that side of things, man, it will be so cool.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
maybe
that.
what?
I've been
Sorry.
holding. Oh, go ahead, Shoji.
No. I just wanted to hear sort of like convincing message towards Yusuke because Yusuke should be seeing this. Yeah.
Well, we'll connect with it offline because we haven't even launched our token outside of testnet. If there is a token, which there might not be.
You might win.
DeFi Advisor space with Napier. Did you have any like more questions about Napier from your space that you had with him that you thought would be worth, or like just like points that you think would be worth like emphasizing again for our audience?
Well, I didn't hear the whole conversation you had now, so you probably talked about most this stuff. But I know that to me, it's very exciting to see a new participant. So many people within the community are talking about regarding the whole the whole new. The amount of new possibilities that will start emerging within the ecosystem once there is a project from within that's actually like separating the yield and the principal token. I'm actually sure that this will bring a lot of new cool stuff into the ecosystem. And I do know that, like, for example, if you guys can give me some examples of the things that in a few months, hopefully, a user will be able to do because of the fact that Napier is becoming a part of the ecosystem, maybe something to, just a bit like the simplest example that you guys maybe can give for what a user will be able to do right when Napier like starts or in the future that right now we still aren't really able to do within the Curve and Convex ecosystem.
Sure. I mean, the simplest one is that, let's say you have LST or the LRT and put into Napier as liquidity provision, or I mean that's one option. Just put your LST into Napier and choose the button that says LP, and that will surely keep you reward or like yield, or like if you think the yields of specific LRT keeps rising, then just go for YT of that LRT, Yeah, that's probably, to like simplest like user experience, and also there should be a lot more things um being made able pretty soon after going live. Like, let's say you did like liquidity provision and you have LP token, and you can do something nice with LP token. So yeah.
So I have a follow-up question on this. How are like sort of assets going to be listed onto Napier? Is it going to be the team picks them? Is there like a DAO vote for approval? Or if like we want to like take Leviathan points and put them onto Napier, could we just do that permissionlessly?
I mean, we'll be going to like permission phase surely in the future. But initially, it's not like we are picking, but more like we are kind of pushing pushing other project to list on Napier. So initially, like it will be like mostly like a listing and LPs, but listing itself is not too difficult. So we'll be broadening coverage of like different kinds of assets step by step later on, and also we are going to make it permissionless, like kind of curve funds. Yeah, curve factory. I mean.
That's very cool. That's very cool. What as like a DeFi person, what are some of like the like things that you would like to do within crypto that don't exist today?
That's a good question, but I mean, I've been seeing like a lot of potential within like ID and DeFi, and like recently some ZK core processor kind of project made some integration with like DeFi projects, like for example, like Eon protocols, like they're, as far as I remember, like the interest rate logic is kind of different from what we had in a like crypto space previously. So there should be a lot of room that can be improved for like algorithm level. But what I see is like with that kind of like middleware like core processor kind of thing being implemented into DeFi, then for example like LTPs or collateral ratio can be much lowered. Like if I have like a history, then I should be, I mean, like in an on-chain history, I should be able to borrow like assets without uh putting high amount of money, if that's possible, right? Like if I want to borrow I don't know, like 5,000 USD, why should I have to put like 1,000? But like that kind of problem can be solved with the integration of ID. I'm not too fond of like ZK KYC kind of thing, but more like a destination based thing is something interesting to see. And also chain abstraction is definitely a good way to go. That's also another thing that I'd love to see. And also, in the future, I mean, like initially, Napier itself will be focusing on Ethereum mainnet, but at some point we will go multi-chain for sure. But at the same time, we would love to explore some sort of chain abstraction kind of experiments where users don't really feel which chain they are. I mean, like the future itself is kind of bit for that's the cool thing that should be happening, right?
Yeah, I mean I think that especially after like Denkun went live and gas fees on Ethereum have been out of control for a long time and L2s are like comically cheap at the moment. Like I'm of the opinion like 90% if not more of DeFi users should just be moving to L2s. Let the whales play on L1. But I really worry about the fragmented liquidity. Like the experience on a lot of these L2s is just like it feels like so small compared to L1.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's huge problem. So that's like why, I said there's a long way to go for achieving that kind of chain abstraction future, because like liquidity is fragmented, and I mean, like there's been like good bridge solutions, but at the same time, it's not enough to achieve deep liquidity as a whole L2s, right? I mean, like if we keep counting uh liquidities on like different L2s, then we're not gonna see deep liquidity. But we need to find some way to route between route liquidity between like L2s, and to kind of like virtually achieve deep liquidity. I mean, like I'm not too sure like how it's gonna happen, but yeah, there needs to be a solution for that. Otherwise, it's gonna be just messy.
Yeah, very much so. What are some of the what do you think of some of the more recent trends within crypto? So of course, the past few weeks, it's been meme coins. Before that, it was a lot of liquid restaking tokens. And then of course, there's been the ETFs. Like, what are your lightning round quick thoughts on all this? Do you like? Are there any of these you particularly like? Any of them that you particularly dislike?
Well, what I particularly like, I mean, like it's kind of controversial, but I would love to
Good.
see what like ZKML, or like decentralized AI kind of thing can do in the space. Because like obviously, I mean, like even from like AI aspect, I don't see it's great that I don't think this is great that one open AI, which sometimes people call like closed AI, is leading the whole world of knowledge. And I mean, it's great to have that kind of tool, but at the same time, it has too much power to control everything. And I mean, like, it's good for personal use, but if we are thinking of like implementing those kind of smart agencies within like network like DAOs, then we should find some better solutions. Otherwise, we cannot utilize the power of AI into DAO or DeFi or whatever. So I mean, like, it's a long way to go for like both ZK itself and AI itself, but I definitely see a great combination in a theoretical level. And there's a lot of emerging projects within this space. So that's one thing I'd love to see.
The thing that I just can't stand about the AIs is like no matter what you ask it, it always gives you this disclaimer, right? It's always like, "Oh, make sure you talk to an expert on this subject." Like, and I'm just
Yeah.
it's like it's so cliche, and I feel like I spend so much time when I'm crafting my prompts being like, "Do not give me a disclaimer." Like, under no circumstances can you like issue any provisos. And it's still like will like be like, well, maybe, but you should talk to an expert, really. And sometimes I'm
Yeah,
like, no, I am the expert. Like,
yeah. Sounds like politician, huh?
exactly. It's obnoxious when politicians talk like that. Obnoxious when my AI is doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I like this long waiting. And also like, as you mentioned, there's a lot of, fake information in it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure like, information input, like information that is input into the models somehow needs to be attested, or otherwise, we need to be able to verify all the answers, which is kind of messy. So yeah, still a
I'm
long
not so
way.
sure about that though, because like it's really good at BSing and just inventing fake answers, and that happens so often in the real world anyway, right? Like
Yeah, a
people
lot
don't
of
even
memes can happen. Yeah.
people don't even care so much about the right answer. They just care about an answer delivered confidently, which is like the whole reason MBA is in business schools exist.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, for sure, but it's kind of sad. I mean, like sad is kind of bit to innocent way, but yeah, I mean that's a bit too tricky for me to understand. I mean, like, it's just how it is, but
But I think LLMs are just like a pretty small part of what makes AI interesting. Like I actually because I use AI every day at this point. I probably use the image generation features more
Mhm.
because I'm not a naturally good artist. But like you could get a good draft of something using AI image generators, and those are getting pretty good. Because like I'll like use Mid Journey to create something, then I'll bring it in Photoshop and use Photoshop's AI to tweak the small sections that don't work, and it's getting very good on that front. But I think just really like the advancement of neural nets for like basic math is where like there's the most promise I see in AI, and like specifically when it comes to blockchain, like we have so much data on chain that no human can understand. I think AI is just gonna be really good at understanding what's going on. And like I talked about a few weeks ago with the Frax flywheel team, and I really think that like MEV solving for like more innovative block building is where it's going to get really crazy, because AI is going to find some crazy ways of arranging transactions and like sandwiching people to make a lot of money.
Wow, that's interesting. But yeah, I think I'm sort of intrigued by the by what's happening, like image generation AI, because like I'm not to like TikTok person, or like I don't have TikTok in my phone, but I have account though. But I see like a lot of younger generation. I mean, like I kind of young, but you know younger than me, they are relying on like imagery for communication rather than like sentences or like text. And my sisters as well. They're like, I definitely see how people communicate is changing, and like this huge gap between I'm myself and like younger generation. So there at some point there's gonna be like there's gonna be like some sort of need for interoperability protocol for bridging this different this gap of like communication style. And if this AI compiles our languages, which is relying on text, which is not very readable for different generation. I mean, like not entirely, but so yeah, that kind of solution can also help us communicate to different generation, different people, which is lovely.
Yeah, TikToks could be very interesting, I think, because like the video AI is like really good at generating a 1-minute video. It would really struggle to come up with like an hour-long conversation like this. That's something anyone wanted to watch, but the generation that like only wants to watch 1 minute means you could just train your function on like generate a 1-minute video, upload to TikTok, and fit it to whatever gets the most likes. And it's gonna like really quickly conquer that. And I think it's probably gonna be like 90% of the content on TikTok and like similar platforms is gonna be just AI generated. So like AI's already like figured out how to program and control the next generation. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah, I heard like a lot of AI projects are finding solutions for tuning their output. I mean, like they have been, but it, I heard like it's getting better and better and better. So yeah, I definitely see that kind of future is nearly there.
Are you old enough to have an attention span, or are you too young to have an attention span?
He's young.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, yeah, like I have probably like an attention span, so yeah.
It's gonna be tough to communicate to the next generation what that is.
Yeah, I mean, like I love football, and I read some papers on football, and some paper mentioned like even like top level academic players, they have like focus length of like nearly 10 seconds or so. So like I mean, it's weird, but that's how they grew up. Yeah, I don't know.
I shouldn't. I mean, I'm not saying it's like a bad thing, because of course, like our generation, my generation, all have our own. I'm paying attention to it because that's the generation that's going to be taking care of us when we get old.
it, it sounded like pretty much Japanese mentality.
Except in the West, people don't value their elders like they do in Japan.
For sure.
Yeah.
I really think that the Japanese culture, it seems so respectful. When I was younger, I used to practice and study Aikido, and it's like
Oh.
it uses like all kinds of traditions, I guess, and like I don't know, like customs on in which like you talk to one another or like start the exercises, and it's so different than what we're used to here in Israel, for example, and I'm sure in the West as well. I don't know. I really think that absorbing this part of the Japanese culture when I was younger, I really think it affected me and made me very attracted, like to many things related to Japan, and definitely one of the places I hope to visit the most. And by the way, Shoji, it makes me like curious about another thing, like. Do you think that the fact that you guys, I don't know, I don't know if it's all of you, but I know that it's some of you. Like, do you think that the fact that you guys have like a big Japanese presence in the team, like, how does that, in your mind, affect Napier? And, like, what kind of maybe other elements it brings to the team? And is it even like a thing, or am I just hallucinating my theory here?
Well, I mean, like, it really depends on projects, but speak of like Napier itself, I don't think there's a lot of, so like in Japanese, like mentality, culture stuff going on inside the team. I mean, like, the team itself, it's not too Japanese. Like, Yusuke is Japanese, and I myself is Japanese, but most of the other members are not from Japan. Like, we're kind of global team distributed all over the world. So, yeah, that's one thing. But at the same time, I have to say, Yusuke is like working pretty hard. I mean, like for this phase as a startup, it's good, it is kind of pretty natural, but at the same time, working like hard 24/7 is something we might have inherited from our parents or like Japanese culture. So
Yeah.
I think that could be the part. Yeah.
So like, I'd estimate 80% of DeFi like crypto Twitter people are like do nothing but watch like anime when they're not doing crypto. And I feel like I'm not a big anime person, but like you could probably lean into that pretty heavily.
You mean anime, right?
Anime, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't watch anime as most of anime fans all over the world expect was Japanese, but but I watch it, like especially like working from home, spending a lot of times in like startups. There's no lot of like on and offs. Like it's always like on and on and on. So kind of a bit exhausting. So I try to, for example, after taking like shower, I watch anime and do the stretching to kind of relieve myself and release all the stress that is inside me. Yeah, that is lovely. Yeah. Do you watch it any, by the way?
No. A friend like back in high school tried to show me like something, so I saw like one episode. Actually, I watched what's the Miyazaki. I've seen a few of the Miyazaki movies, like Spirited Away.
Yeah. I mean, they've got cool design.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. Like I see why people like it. It's just I don't watch a lot of stuff. Like I'm kind of a boring person.
No, but like if you are kind of into sci-fi thing, then you might be interested in like Ghost in the Shell. That's what I've
Ghost of
been
the Shell?
watching, yeah, I mean, like it's kind of world where we are partly materialized. I mean, like some computer internalized kind of like brain human interface kind of thing. Yeah, the world depicts that kind of world, and it looks really like the future we are going to, and it's really fun at the same time. So yeah, it might worth to watch.
Down, I'll check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
This past week, by the way, were you watching the F of X protocol, where they did the big mint event for their new RUSD?
Oh, what was the question?
Oh,
Sorry.
I was asking if you were following. Although it looks like the chat wants to talk about anime stuff. They say Ghost in the Shell's iconic, and it makes them more bullish on Napier.
Thank you, Bravo.
And then we
Yeah.
have Ghibli from Kotatsu.
Yeah.
I was asking about if you guys protocol launch event for RUSD this past week. I don't know if you got a chance to follow that. It was pretty wild. They opened it up and minted out within an hour.
Oh, really? That's master. I mean, like I didn't have chance to follow it, but it sounds like I should have. Yeah.
Oh, you're busy building. It's understandable. Like you can't follow
Yeah.
crypto 24. You tune out of miss a lot, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
I
know
mean,
what, Garrett? I'm not sure. Like, are builders really excused from using the other protocols? I'm joking, of course.
No, I mean, to be honest, when I'm trying to like build or like get something done, I just have to turn off Telegram, turn off Discord, like turn off Twitter, and get to work. And then like I'll come back a few hours later and look, and it'll just be like everything's completely different. Like 10 new things have shipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's many times the exact. It feels like the exact times that that you leave the computer and like do all of a sudden you come back a few hours later. It's like a new market, a whole world. Like everyone is like it's the whole timeline is talking about a thing that was not there like just 3 hours ago, but already you feel like everybody knows it. Everybody's talking about it, and you're like you weren't on the computer for 3 hours, but you're already like too late, and like you will never know that actual story to the full extent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like especially for as a like build that is as you mentioned, like there needs to be some moment of like focus, not on like timeline or not on like any data, but doing my own stuff or like thinking of my own stuff. So yeah, it's really tough to follow all the news, and like I already have a lot of list of like mediums or like any like articles that I want to read, but it's kind of getting piled up. So
Yeah, here's another interesting one that came out this morning. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see this, but basically Prisma Risk released this report, which was taking a look at how like various aspects of Prisma would have functioned if it was using Curve as its primary oracle instead of Chainlink, and it found really, really strong results for the Curve oracle. Here, let me open the actual like study itself. Study itself is like super technical, so it would be like probably a longer dive that we could get into on this. But yeah, Curve saw this and tweeted, "Oh my gosh, are we now suddenly in the Oracle business?" I don't think it's the case that Curve's getting you. Like they actually put out a separate tweet just about where they're like moving to more reliance on Chainlink. But Oracle like stuff is like super complicated.
yeah.
Using oracles with Napier, right?
No, really.
Oh no, okay, never mind. I got that wrong.
Yeah, because like most of the thing happens on as AMA, so and then an NM, so
okay, okay, so you just rely on that to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. No worries. Well, yeah. This looks really interesting. I mean, I like not too intensively, but I spent some time doing research on like oracles, and the result was something really interesting. Yeah.
What'd you find?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I need to check in detail.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll send you
yeah.
the article. What did you
Yeah. Yeah.
find
For
when you're
sure.
doing your independent research on oracles?
Like, to be honest, like nothing much. Like, the result was like really boring. Like, less reliance on like one specific source is better. I mean, like one of been innovator way for, decentralizing it. Like, I mean, like personally, less reliance on like C5s. Like, so that's like why I was like, surprised by the result showing here. I mean, like the thing I found was still super boring. Like, better make it decentralized, but yeah.
Nice. DeFi advisor is a good question. I'll go ahead and let you ask it.
I wanted to ask you about like what's the long term like horizon and vision that you guys at Napier have over there, and like is it something that you're even discussing, or is everything like so hectic that it's just short term oriented? But to be honest, I'm very curious like to know what you guys feel about like the ecosystem in the future, the way you view it, and the role that Napier is going to have in the ecosystem in the long future.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, right now as a team, it's kind of too packed for short term thing, but we used to share a lot of long term vision, and also like we do have like some specific ones, and so for like one thing is that, so as Napier, we believe that we are extending what Curve ecosystem can do by because like like how we design, how we build Napier itself is pretty much like it, like this curve, and we'll build sort of like extension to make sure like good trade happens, like trades and like good efficiency happens for either trading, while like curve itself couldn't handle time dependent value. So we definitely want to bring or like expand like what curve can do through Napier, and what we are good at is either trading. So that's definitely one thing we want to be good have for either trading, and we want to start from making a curve a home of LSD and LLPs. So that's for kind of short term, and for long term, this is more about fixed term yield, because like if we have either trading, there's like fixed term yields behind that for sure. Then the thing is that with like fixed deal, there could be a lot more like huge money, like be it wealth or be it institution, can come in to kind of stabilize their strategy. That's that's definitely we're looking at on board, make DeFi more useful for both users and also institutions.
That's cool, actually. That's really cool.
So one random question related to this. Last week's Llama Party guest, Token Bryce, has like a lot of criticisms of Curve. One of them is that he doesn't like the fact that like Curve launched and then all these other protocols kind of built atop it, which means that you basically have to have like if you want to use Curve, like then you have to go to Convex and then maybe you go to Conic and like redeposit. Like it's just like a lot of moving parts. I'm curious. Well, first of all, like when you were designing your llama race, you had the trouble of like integrating into all these different like hundreds of protocols in the flywheel. Do you think this is a strength or a weakness of the Curve ecosystem, where there's like so many different protocols out there that have like joined the flywheel? Is it a strength in that like it's like it can support like all this like extra builder effort, or would it be better if like it was just like everything in under one roof, so it was like a one-stop shop for all your DeFi needs?
Well, I would say I have idea of former. So in general, I think this kind of design where different kinds of protocols coming into like curves and trying to build something cool. That kind of competition is really good for us, for everyone in general. Because like I mean like sometimes it's a bit messy, especially from like operation aspects. But at the same time, like this is especially like where it's more easy to compare. Like give me a second. Well, I think that this kind of design is pretty much like I'd say modular. Like relying on like deep liquidity, we can build something new that is related to that. Of course, like there's there could be some protocols that is just maximizing the risks for like both upsides and downsides. I mean, like I'm not blaming it, but what I care about is more like giving more utilities while like keeping composability. And if there's any better way to compose it, then that got that someone who thought of like better design should take it and take away the kind of position as sort of like for DeFi level, right? And this kind of competition keeps happening if as long as it's you know modular, not relying on like one-stop shop. There's always competition, which is good for users. Yeah.
So overall, like you're saying, the headache that would be caused by having to use and understand multiple different protocols is outweighed by the kind of like the extra level of services that could be provided through like the modularity.
Yeah. Well, I think I misunderstood the question. Like, was it that you were saying that there need to be any of like one-stop shop for kind of bundling all the experience, or like was it that you was saying that there needs to be like one protocol that covers all the functions behind that?
It's a kind of open-ended question, I guess. Like,
Okay.
just said, that was a critique that came out
Mm-hmm.
from Token Bryce. So I think it's worth discussing because I think
Yeah, for sure.
it's always useful to re-examine our priors. So open to you as well, DeFi advisor.
I really enjoy a lot of Token Bryce's takes, and I think that you had a brilliant show with him last week. To be honest, I think it was a very good move of you to have a specific show with him and to like show him that like even the show that at least I see as the flagship show of the Curve ecosystem, like is willing to like have one of its biggest critics on for a full-on discussion, one-on-one. I think it was a brilliant move, and I really enjoyed it. Personally, on that question, I don't really think the same is here. I think it's a very, I think the structure of Curve, like the Curve ecosystem, I mean, as a federation, and not as just one giant protocol that does everything in-house, is to be honest, it's like a much more realistic way of how things can actually be built, because I think that all these protocols and the federation that has assembled, it basically it all started like around the lindiness of Curve itself. And Convex were very early to recognize the fact that this lindiness is about to happen. They were very quick to like play the Curve game and become such a huge factor, to the fact that we already like some of us usually tend to call it the curve and convex ecosystem because it's kind of like become the same thing. But I think that after that, in the like 2 years after that, till now even, you can still see like layer on top of layer, like other participants are entering and flowing into the ecosystem. And personally, I don't really think that something like this has a very strong probability of happening if it's all trying to be done in-house. I think that it's much more of a community-driven initiative that like assembles itself in a more natural way, and I think it will always revolve around like stuff like lindiness, because if there's not like a leading project that's leading it and like creating all the like fees and all the stuff that attracted the people to build around it in the first place, I think that to build the whole thing in-house, like Mitch will have to like bring his own capital of like I don't know $100 billion to actually build the whole ecosystem itself and manage it, and it's just not as sustainable, I think, as having a federation. And me personally, I think that, to me, again, not financial advice and all that stuff, to me, I do not see even one ecosystem right now that is even close, in my opinion, to the power that the Curve ecosystem has, precisely because of this kind of federation that we have here. But again, do your own research and do due diligence, guys. Like I'm someone with a PFP, talking behind the PFP, so consider what you're doing with your free time and money.
Of course, if Mitch needed to build it all in-house, he's got big enough house to do so.
Oh yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But you don't want him to build a house of cards, you know what I mean? And,
Mansion of cards. Mansion of cards.
Yeah, but I actually think that I don't know. To me, Curve doesn't feel like a mansion of cards at all. To me, it feels like the most resilient part of DeFi. But again, this is my perception and perspective. Like I can't tell for sure. I can know what I feel and think.
Shoji, before I feel like it's already Do Yobi there, so we're no longer Llama Party Day. So we should probably wrap it up pretty soon. But before we go, like, are there any other like protocols within this kind of Curve Federation that like you just have like interesting thoughts on, like positive or negative?
FX.
Actually, we talk about like FX before you come into the topic, and yeah, we definitely see a lot of feature there. Well, other than that, I'll say Fractal. The idea is like pretty interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like we talking about like like multi-chain or like cross-chain situation, liquidity fragmentation, and the need for sort of like chain abstraction, especially for like L2 or L3s. I'm not really sure like Fractal they're like discussing this kind of stuff, but at least I definitely see a need for having sort of good DeFi hub within like an L2 as a sort of like like base layer of for DeFi as L2. What they're looking for is like really interesting and exciting to me.
Yeah, we're also pretty interested. We're probably gonna launch on Fractal.
Yeah. That'll be cool.
He means it, guys. He means it. He's not just saying it. You know, it was like, I think there was like at least a month that they started talking about it within Leviathan, and I was sure that they were joking. I was like, yeah, but they will never really want to. But cool, it's funny. And then a few days ago, I was like, oh my God, this is actually happening. Like, we're going to have
Yeah.
and like, I think it got the community so excited, right, Garrett?
Yeah.
I think we cried wolf on it so often no one believes it yet. Maybe we should just launch it this weekend so people realize we're serious.
Yeah, but you already said, you shared something on the group about the fact that a lot more headlines right now are already being submitted by the community, right?
Yeah, well, we've had all these bot features because like the initial thought was that our news feed would be like properly decentralized so people could like submit headlines from anywhere. We had this thought that like we had the capability to do it for a long time. I feel like we never like pushed a lot of the capabilities. So I think I think people like means that activity. It's been great, frankly. Like I think the quality of the news feed's been very, very high lately.
Yeah, and also, I think that at least the way I see it, I think with Leviathan, we try to do something that is very like community driven and oriented. I don't want us to be like, and I'm pretty sure that that was your original vision as well, Garrett. Like, I don't want us to be like just the voice of one community, or that it's like just a few people calling all the shots and deciding it. I do think that the best service, the best kind of service and platform that we can provide for the community is one that can offer like actual inclusivity and diversity of opinion, like to actually have like different shows from different like sectors of the industry, even sides who don't really agree with one another or compete with one another, but to really try to have as many people as possible, like to feel that Leviathan News is a place for them, like to also express themselves and show their goods to the crypto world, and like let the audience decide. And that's why for sure we want the community more and more involved in the whole process. Actually, in the headline, in the submission of headlines, I think it can be huge. Like we can never cover the news as fast as like with all our audience. Like no one will be able to like match us, to be honest, if we actually have like the power of the public with us scrolling for these headlines and publishing them. But also with stuff like I don't know, we hope to have like points for guests as well, and for other types of contributions that people do within Leviathan, like I don't know, editing, scheduling, whatever is possible. We have a lot to talk about and think about, actually.
We have people registered for the upcoming airdrop. Even you're not in there, I don't believe, DeFi Advisor. So there's 500 people watching right now. We got a lot of work to do. So do take some time to check out our Telegram channel. We post a lot of great news headlines there, good in-depth stories sometimes. Also, make sure to follow this podcast here on Spotify, on YouTube, on X. Shoji, domo arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you so much for joining us here. Is there anything you'd like to shout out? Where can people find you?
Probably like Twitter. Just Twitter would be better. Like, let me find mine. Just give me a second.
It's like SHJ0X or 0X. I'm not sure the order there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just forgot. Oh, no. I have it here. Like,
look at this guy. Like, he's an A-team viewer. Like, he can't even. He's already getting ready to the FX party.
Well, Shoji, while you look it up, I'm just gonna go ahead and plug that the Llama party might be ending, but the after party will continue. If you are interested in keeping the party going, the A team is going to be having a post-game party to celebrate the super successful launch of RUSD. Again, that was like a really fun event. It filled up in an hour. Here is Shoji's Twitter, or now X handle. It's OXSHJ.
Zero, actually.
0x, like an Ethereum address. Gorgeous llama picture too on top of it. So
thank you.
For sure.
With like branding matching to like Napier design. So
nice.
Honestly, always fun to see like the presence of the llamas within the builders of the ecosystem itself. It's honestly remarkable. It's one of the things that makes me again so bullish and so much into the community. I know that there are some benefits for the llamas also on the Napier race as well. Right? By the way, is that how I should say it? Like the Napier race, or does it have like a different name?
Llama race.
Llama race. Okay.
Llama race, yeah.
Could you briefly plug? You list Tane. I have no idea how it's pronounced. It's one of the things you're working on. Can you plug that too?
Sure. Tane is like crypto builders incubator. So basically, BC as well as like having network operation arms. So we are working with a like Optimism as delegates, or like we're working on like Arbitrum and also some other networks. say as like delegates for like network operators, and we are started like focusing on like infrastructure, especially. So like MAV is also like one of the topics we have been following as Tiny. I'm part of them as well. Yeah.
Right on. You're up to some amazing stuff. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Shoji. To all of you tuning in, remember the party continues with the A team.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we will probably delay a bit, like maybe we'll start in like half an hour or an hour, something like that. We will tweet. So follow us from the A team account and our own accounts if you want there. Thank you very much for the shout out, Garrett. Really appreciate it. And nice to talk to you again, Shoji. Honestly, very excited about Napier, both about the Llama race and by the way, I saw that a lot of these tests should be done like before the 26th of March, right? That's the snapshot or something.
Yeah, some of them will be taken before that.
Yeah. So guys, for sure, if you're into it, check these out. Follow the mostly I think the Twitter of the guys at Napier. To be honest, they really have like very detailed explanations on what you should do in order to be eligible and participate. So appreciate that as well. And Garrett, for sure, thank you, man, for hosting another one of the best shows in the industry. Our like the favorite of so many of us around the world. Honestly, you can be sure of that. Like for many of us, it's one of the best shows out there, and always a pleasure and fun to have Napier on for the first time. Looking forward to have you guys again in a few months, hopefully after you've like completely changed the ecosystem and brought your value into it.
All right. Thank you all, Squiddos. Again, subscribe to Leviathan for all the news that's fit to ink. We'll see you next time. Ja, mata.
Bye.